Hello, this is Real Stories, Real Truths, where we share heart-wrenching true stories of courage, betrayal, and the strength to rise from the ashes. Today, I, Boon Matthews, will tell you my own story, a tale of uncovering the painful truth about the wife I once loved, my fight to protect my daughter Willow, and how I found light after darkness. Buckle up because this story will keep you glued to your seat. If you've ever been betrayed or fought to protect what matters most, this is for you. Hit the like button, subscribe, and join me on this journey. But first, picture this. You're standing at a door holding flowers, your daughter clutching your hand, both excited to surprise her mom. But when the door cracks open, what do you see? Your wife, the person you trust most, laughing intimately with a stranger talking about leaving you and taking your daughter. What would you do? I faced that moment. And here's what happened. I'm Boon Matthews, a former Marine now running a motorcycle repair shop on the outskirts of Charlotte, North Carolina. My life revolves around Harleys, the smell of motor oil, and above all, my 8-year-old daughter Willow. She's my light with her dark hair tied crooked and a stuffed bunny she hugs tight. My wife Laurel teaches English at Charlotte West High School. She's a dreamer full of energy, the opposite of me, a practical, quiet guy. We'd been married for 10 years, and though life wasn't perfect, I thought we were solid. But everything changed when Laurel said her mom, Odessa, was sick. She had to go to Henderson 2 hours away to care for her. Just a few weeks, she said. But 2 weeks passed, then 3, and something felt off. Laurel's texts were short, her calls rare. She said Odessa had the flu, but Willow mentioned her mom saying this time was different. I'm not the suspicious type, but a gnawing feeling grew. I learned to trust my gut in the Marines. It saved me more than once. So, when Willow with her sparkling eyes begged to see her mom, I decided to make a surprise visit. I thought, why not? I'll bring flowers, make Laurel smile, and everything will be fine. I bought daisies for Odessa, lilies for Laurel, her favorite. Willow clutched a new sketchbook, excited to show her mom a drawing. We hopped in the truck, and I felt lighter, like my doubts would vanish when I saw Laurel. But when we got to Henderson, things weren't as I expected. Odessa's colonial-style house appeared with green shutters and a neat lawn. Laurel's car wasn't there, and oddly the front door was ajar. Willow noticed first, whispering, "Dad, the door's open." My heart pounded, but I stayed calm. I gently pushed the door, and through the narrow gap I saw a scene that froze my blood. Laurel sat on the couch, hair wet, in a silk robe, laughing with a man I'd never seen. He was tall, lean, with a trimmed beard, wearing jeans and a button-up, looking like he stepped out of a magazine. They shared a bottle of wine glasses glinting, and he touched Laurel's hair, saying, "He doesn't suspect a thing." Laurel laughed, leaning into his arm, and said, "Boone's too busy with his garage to notice me." Willow tugged my sleeve, her voice tiny. "Dad." "Who's that?" I wanted to scream to barge in, but I looked into my daughter's eyes and knew I had to protect her. I pulled Willow back, the flowers dropping onto the porch. I whispered, "Come on, kiddo. Mom's busy. Let's get ice cream." In the truck, I forced a smile, but my mind screamed Laurel was betraying me, and worse, she was planning to take Willow. I took Willow to an ice cream shop, watching her eat chocolate fudge, but my heart was tearing apart. How could I explain to an 8-year-old that her mom was planning a new life without her dad? I couldn't let Willow see me break. I dropped her off at Jenny's, Laurel's best friend and Willow's godmother. Jenny looked worried, but I just said, "Keep Willow tonight. I need time." Then I sat on my porch holding a beer, trying to call Laurel. No answer. I left a voicemail. "Willow misses you. Call when you're free. I love you." But I knew that love was now a bleeding wound. I needed help, and there was only one person I could trust, my brother Tay. Tay and I had a falling out after our dad died, arguing over the will, the family household grudges. But now I had no choice. I called, and after a long pause, Tay said I'll be there in 6 hours. When he showed up at my garage, Matthews Custom Motorcycles, I spilled everything. Tay didn't judge, just nodded and said, "We'll figure it out." He's tech-savvy, so we started digging. What we found chilled me. Laurel had opened a secret bank account, siphoning money from our joint savings. There were hotel receipts, restaurant bills for 2, and worst of all, messages from the family iPad Laurel forgot to disconnect. She and this guy, Grady Corman, had been planning for months to leave to take Willow to a new home in Henderson. Grady, it turned out, was Laurel's boss at the school. He'd been suspended before for inappropriate workplace relationships and was now under investigation for embezzling school funds. Laurel wasn't just cheating, she was entangled with a dangerous man. But what hurt most was a drawing Willow made. One day she brought home a pastel sketch, 3 people in front of a greenhouse, a bearded man, a long-haired woman, and a little girl in the middle. "This is Dad, this is Mom, and this is me," Willow said, pointing to each. Then she added, "Mom said this could be our new house." I looked closer and realized the man wasn't me. He had Grady's pointed beard. Laurel had taken Willow to meet this guy, preparing her for a life without me. I'd faced plenty in the Marines' bombs, ambushes, loss, but nothing compared to knowing my wife was trying to steal my daughter. I didn't sleep that night, just stared at old photos. Laurel at Willow's birthday, our anniversary, 3 months ago, the beach last summer. We were happy, or so I thought. Now every memory was tainted by lies. I wondered, where did I go wrong? Was I too busy with the garage, too cold, like Laurel once said? But then I thought of Willow, her smile, and I knew I couldn't lose her. Tay and I kept digging. We found property listings, a house in Henderson blocks from Odessa's bought by Grady Corman 2 months ago. There were lawyer invoices. Laurel had paid a retainer for a custody case likely to fight for Willow. Each piece was a knife, but also a weapon. I wasn't letting Laurel win. I called Marcus Daniels, an old lawyer friend from my garage contract days. Marcus agreed to help, and we started building a case. Meanwhile, I kept things normal for Willow. I took her to school, made tacos on Tuesdays, read bedtime stories. But she sensed something. One night she asked, "When's Mom coming back, Dad?" I hugged her, saying, "Soon, kiddo. She's just helping Grandma." But inside, I knew Laurel was planning to leave us. I couldn't let Willow know, not yet. I needed time, and I needed a plan. 3 days later, Laurel texted that she was coming home. Odessa was better. She wrote, "Miss you and Willow. Maybe back next weekend." I read it twice, feeling like I'd swallowed rocks. I knew she was lying, but I didn't let on. I replied briefly, "Good. Waiting for you." Inside, I was ready. With Tay's help, I'd gathered enough evidence, messages, receipts, Grady's history. I knew everything, and I'd make Laurel face it. When Laurel returned, she walked in chipper, like she'd been on vacation. "Honey, I'm home," she called, voice bright. I sat at the kitchen table, a stack of documents in front of me. Willow was at Jenny's. I didn't want her to see this. Laurel stepped in, her smile fading when she saw my face. "What's wrong?" "Where's Willow?" she asked. I pointed to the chair across from me. "Sit down. We need to talk." I placed her secret phone, the one she hid in her classroom desk, on the table. Laurel's face went pale. "Where did you get that?" she stammered. "Open door," I said, voice calm but icy. "Saturday at your mom's. Willow wanted to surprise you." But I was the one surprised Laurel. "I saw you with Grady Corman on the couch talking about leaving me, taking Willow." Laurel opened her mouth, but no words came. I pushed the documents forward. 8 months, Laurel. 8 months of hotels, lies, stealing our savings. You thought I wouldn't know. Laurel shifted from shock to anger. "I didn't steal." "That money's mine too," she yelled. "Money's not the point." I said, "You betrayed me, betrayed Willow." She tried to justify it, saying I was never there, always at the garage. But I didn't budge. I pointed to the papers. "Grady, your boss, suspended for workplace affairs. He's under investigation for embezzlement. And you chose him." Laurel paled when I mentioned the investigation. She didn't know I knew that much. The argument dragged on, but I stayed calm. Finally, I said, "You're leaving. Stay with Grady or your mom. I don't care. But not here." Laurel cried, begged for Willow, but I didn't waver. "I'll be back in an hour. Be gone." As I left, she screamed, "You can't take her from me." But I didn't look back. In the truck, Tay was waiting. "Done?" he asked. "Exactly as predicted," I said. She denied, then begged. "Now it starts." We picked up Willow, had dinner, and I tried to act normal. But inside, I was gearing up for a bigger fight, custody of Willow. Laurel didn't waste time. 3 days later, she filed for emergency custody, alleging I was emotionally unstable, even potentially violent. The accusation was a gut punch, but I was ready. With Marcus, I built a strong case. We had proof of Laurel's affair, Grady's history, and most importantly, testimony from Dr. Eleanor Reed, a court-appointed psychologist. She met Willow twice and said the girl felt safest with me, anxious about Mom's friend. The first hearing was a tense battle. Laurel had a sharp lawyer, Catherine Benson, who painted her as a devoted mom who made a mistake because our marriage was broken. But Marcus countered, presenting evidence of Laurel's 8-month affair, her exposing Willow to Grady without my consent. Most crucially, he brought up the investigation against Grady, a blow that rattled Laurel's lawyer. Judge Harper, a stern woman, listened to it all. She looked at Laurel asking, "Is your relationship with Mr. Corman ongoing?" Laurel admitted weakly that she didn't believe the allegations against him. The judge wasn't impressed. When it was my turn, I stood looking straight at the judge. "Your Honor, I've hired help at the garage to have more time for Willow. My brother moved to Charlotte to support us. I don't oppose Willow seeing her mom, but I want to protect her from upheaval." The judge nodded, and after deliberation, she ruled I got temporary custody of Willow, with Laurel limited to supervised visits 3 days a week. Laurel cried, but I didn't feel victorious. I just felt empty. The woman I once loved, who helped me through post-military nightmares, was now a stranger. But the story didn't end there. A few weeks later, I got a call from Willow's teacher, Ms. Winters. "Mr. Matthews, a man was watching the playground during recess today. He said he was a friend of Willow's mom, just checking in." I asked him to leave. My heart stopped. What was his name, I asked, though I knew the answer. Grady something. He left a business card. I thanked her, but inside rage flared. Grady had violated a court order getting near my daughter. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't stop myself. I drove to Charlotte West High, waiting in the parking lot under pouring rain. When Grady emerged, hurrying to his silver Audi, I followed. He stopped at an apartment complex near the university, a sketchy place where no one asks questions. I waited 2 hours, rain drumming on my truck, gripping my Marine Challenge coin in my pocket, a reminder of discipline, of limits. Finally, I knocked on Grady's apartment door. He opened it in sweats, holding a drink. When he recognized me, his face paled. "You're Boon Matthews," he said, voice shaky. "Willow's dad." I nodded, voice even. "Why were you at her school today?" Grady stammered. "Saying Laurel asked him to check on Willow." I stepped closer. "You violated a court order. You think you can insert yourself into my family plan to take her?" He tried to act confident, saying Laurel wasn't happy with me, that I neglected her. But I cut him off. I said low, "Come near my daughter again and you won't breathe." I didn't touch him. I didn't need to. My eyes said enough. I left feeling lighter, but I knew the trouble wasn't over. Grady could report me, Laurel could retaliate. But I'd sent a message. Willow was a line no one crossed. 6 months later, things shifted. I won full custody of Willow. Laurel got 2 weekends a month, provided Grady stayed away. She lost her teaching job, now working at a supermarket deli counter. Grady was arrested for violating parole, an anonymous tip to his probation officer, and I didn't ask questions. Now Willow and I have new routines. Tuesdays are still taco nights, but now with Uncle Tay, who moved nearby to help. Our house is spruced up, new paint, new porch, brighter. Willow draws more, her colorful sketches of our home, me Tay. One day, Laurel came by, bringing Willow's forgotten science fair volcano model. She wore her supermarket uniform, hair streaked with gray, looking tired but real. "Nice house," she said, voice soft. I nodded. "Had help." Willow ran out, hugging her mom, asking, "Stay for burgers." Uncle Tay made tons. Laurel looked at me, and I gave a slight nod, but she declined, saying she had to work. As she left, a silver Audi drove by Grady at the wheel. He glanced at me, then Laurel, but didn't stop. Laurel stood by her car, watching the Audi disappear, then looked back at me. No words, but I saw it in her eyes, regret, resignation, maybe a hint of relief. I put my hand on Willow's shoulder, leading her inside. Not a problem anymore, I told myself. Looking back, my victory wasn't custody or Laurel and Grady's downfall. It was the peace I gave Willow, the home we rebuilt, the way I learned to forgive not Laurel, but myself for not seeing the truth sooner. Life doesn't promise fairness, but it gives you a chance to fight. And I fought for Willow, for family, for myself. What about you? How have you faced betrayal and risen up? Share your story in the comments. I read them all. If this moved, you hit like, subscribe, and share. Check out our playlist on overcoming adversity for more stories like this. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay strong, stay smart, and keep fighting for what matters. The story doesn't end there. And if you think I'd overcome every challenge, keep listening, because what happened next pushed me into situations I never imagined. After the custody win, I thought I'd regained control. Willow was safe. Laurel was limited, and Grady was a fading shadow. But life, as I learned, never lets you rest long. New secrets, unexpected threats, and tough choices forced me to confront who I am, asking, how far would I go to protect my daughter? It started weeks after Laurel began her court-ordered supervised visits. Willow enjoyed seeing her mom, but I noticed she'd come back pensive. One afternoon, picking her up from the visitation center, she sat in the car hugging her bunny and asked Dad, "Is Mom sad? She says she misses me, but she doesn't smile like before." Her question stabbed my heart. I wanted to shield Willow from the truth, but how could I explain her mom was paying for her choices? I held her hand, saying, "Mom loves you, Willow. Grown-ups have tough days, but she'll be okay." But inside I wondered, what was Laurel up to? Was she truly changing or just acting? Then one night, checking emails in the garage, Tay walked in, face grim. "Boon, you need to see this," he said, handing me a USB. "A buddy at the police department sent it. It's about Grady." My heart raced. I plugged in the USB, and what I saw chilled me. It was an internal investigation report from Charlotte West High detailing Grady's embezzlement and ties to an illegal betting ring. But the shocker was a leaked email where Grady mentioned a plan with clearly Laurel, to secure control of something. It didn't specify, but I knew it could be Willow. I looked at Tay, trying to stay calm. "He's in jail, right?" Tay shook his head. "Released yesterday. Parole violation downgraded to a warning for lack of evidence." I gripped the table, rage surging. Grady wasn't just back, he might be scheming with Laurel. I thought of seeing his Audi, the glance he shared with Laurel. Were they still in contact? Was Laurel using visits to plan something new? I couldn't let this slide. I decided to watch Laurel. Not because I doubted her, I had no trust left, but because I needed to know what she was doing near Willow. I asked Jenny, ever loyal to Willow despite her friendship with Laurel, to keep an eye out during visits. Jenny agreed, though worried. "Boon, don't go too far," she said. "Willow needs her dad here, not in jail." I nodded, but inside I was set. If Laurel or Grady threatened my daughter, I'd do whatever it took. Jenny called days later, voice shaky. "Boon, Laurel gave Willow a gift today, a new teddy bear. But Willow said it smelled funny, like cigarettes. Laurel claimed it was brand new, but I'm not sure." A chill ran through me. Laurel didn't smoke, but I remembered the cigarette smell on Grady's clothes when I confronted him. Had he touched the gift? Was he sending a message through Willow? I told Jenny to keep the bear and bring Willow home. When I checked it, I found a small note hidden in the lining. Just a few words. "Meet me. 9 p.m. Myers Park." No signature, but I knew who. I faced a choice: call the police and risk losing Grady's trail, or meet him myself. I chose the latter, but not recklessly. I called Tay and we planned. I'd go to Myers Park, a quiet area with tree-lined paths, but Tay would stay nearby, hidden in his car, ready to step in. I didn't want violence, but I needed answers. At 9 p.m., I stood under a large oak-dim streetlights casting shadows. Grady appeared in a black jacket, looking more stressed than last time. "Matthews," he said, voice low. "Knew you'd show." "Why'd you send stuff to my daughter?" I growled, fists clenched. Grady raised his hands as if to calm me. "Easy, it wasn't me. Laurel asked me to meet her, said she needed help. I just followed through." I narrowed my eyes. "Help with what?" Grady smirked, but I saw fear in his eyes. "She thinks you're hiding money, an old savings account you didn't tell the court. She wanted me to persuade you to share." I was stunned. Laurel wasn't just betraying me emotionally, she was after money, maybe to start over with Grady. But then, another twist. Grady continued. "But I'm not doing it for her. I've got bigger problems. The guys I owe from the betting ring, they don't mess around. They know about Willow, know she's your weak spot." My heart stopped. "You're threatening my kid?" I asked, stepping closer. Grady backed up. "No, I'm warning you. They want me to be the middleman, get money from you, or they'll—" He hesitated, and I knew they'd target Willow. I didn't fully trust Grady, but his words made sense. If he was deep in illegal betting, he might have dragged Laurel into a bigger mess than I thought. I said, voice like steel, "Get out of my daughter's life, Laurel's life, or I swear you won't see tomorrow." Grady nodded, trembling, and bolted into the dark. I stood there breathing hard, realizing my fight wasn't just with Laurel or Grady, but with a larger unseen threat. I didn't go home right away. I called Marcus, told him everything, and he advised reporting it to the police, but carefully. "If these guys are really after Willow, you need legal protection," he said. I agreed, but first I needed to confront Laurel. I waited for her next supervised visit. When Willow ran off to play, I pulled Laurel aside. "The teddy bear," I said, voice low. "Grady sent it, didn't he?" "Don't lie." Laurel paled, eyes darting. I don't know what you're talking about, but I saw the truth in her eyes. I leaned in, whispering, "If you drag Willow into Grady's mess, you'll lose her forever. Tell the truth now." Laurel collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "I didn't mean to," she choked. "Grady said he needed money, that he could help me get Willow back if I helped him. I didn't know he was tied to those guys. I looked at the woman I once loved, now a shadow of herself. You chose him, Laurel, and now you're pulling her into danger." I walked away, leaving her with her regret. But I didn't stop. I reported the note and threat to the police, providing Grady's report from Tay. They opened an investigation, and within a week, Grady was arrested again, this time for illegal betting ties. Laurel wasn't charged, but her visits were suspended pending review. But the danger wasn't over. One night during taco dinner with Willow, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there stood a stranger in a black suit, hair slicked back, eyes sharp as knives. "Mr. Matthews," he said, voice smooth. "We need to talk about Grady's debt." My heart raced, but I kept my face blank. "Willow, go to your room," I called, eyes locked on him. When she was gone, I stepped onto the porch, closing the door. "Grady's nothing to me. He's in jail. Go find him." The man smiled, but there was no warmth. "He owes us 50 grand. He said you have money, savings, assets, something. Pay or we find another way." Blood rushed to my head, but I thought of Willow, my promise to keep her safe. "I don't have his money," I said, "but come near my daughter and you'll regret it." He stared as if weighing me, then shrugged. 48 hours. Think hard." He left, leaving me with dread. I didn't sleep that night. I called Tay Marcus and an old Marine buddy, Jake, now a private investigator. Jake agreed to look into the suit's crew while Marcus worked with the police for a protective order for Willow. Tay stayed at my house, ensuring safety. But I knew I couldn't just defend. I had to act. Jake found the suit was a lackey for a Charlotte betting syndicate, and they meant business. I decided to set a trap. With Jake's help, I pretended to agree to pay, arranging a meet at an abandoned warehouse outside town. But instead of cash, the police were waiting. The sting was quick, the suit and 2 goons were arrested and their syndicate exposed. After that, I moved Willow to a new school far from Charlotte for safety. Laurel, after her visits were suspended, came to me one last time. She stood on my porch, eyes red, saying, "Boon, I'm sorry. I didn't know it would go this far." I looked at her, not angry, just tired. "You chose your path, Laurel. Now let Willow have peace." She nodded, walked away, and I knew it was likely the last time we'd talk like that. Now, a year later, Willow's 9 taller with longer hair, her smile brighter than ever. We have new traditions, not just Taco Tuesdays, but weekend camping with Tay, where Willow learns to fish and tells silly stories. Our house is our fortress, with a new porch, a green front yard, and walls full of Willow's art. I don't look down the road where Grady once drove, don't check Laurel's messages. I won not just by keeping Willow, but by finding myself again. But one final lesson: life will test you, throw you into dark corners you didn't see coming. Sometimes it's the person you love most betraying you. Sometimes it's threats you didn't expect. But you have the strength to stand, to fight, to protect what matters. I did it for Willow, and I know you can too. Share your story in the comments. What made you stronger? Hit like, subscribe, and spread these real stories. I'll keep telling them, and I hope you'll keep listening. Thinking the suit's arrest and the syndicate's takedown meant Willow and I could breathe easy in our little home was naive. Life, you see, is never that simple. Every time I thought I'd weathered the storm, a new one hit, testing my patience, resolve, and faith in myself. What came next didn't just spark a new fight. It forced me to face secrets from my own family's past secrets that could change everything I thought I knew about Laurel, Willow, and myself. It began on a Saturday morning as Willow and I prepped for a camping day with Uncle Tay. Willow, now 9, was tying her shoes, chattering about catching the biggest fish. I laughed, ruffling her hair, feeling peace for the first time in months. Then the doorbell rang. I opened it to a woman I didn't know, about 50, brown hair and a tight bun, wearing a crisp gray suit, holding a leather briefcase. "Mr. Boon Matthews," she asked, voice sharp and professional. I nodded, unease rising. "I'm Diane Kessler, attorney for Mrs. Odessa Carver. I need to discuss a matter concerning your daughter Willow." My heart raced. Odessa, Laurel's mom, hadn't contacted me directly since the trial. She always kept her distance, clearly disliking me as just a mechanic instead of a worthy husband for her daughter. "Come in," I said, keeping my voice steady. Willow ran up, curious, but I sent her to pack camping gear. When Diane sat at the kitchen table, she opened her briefcase, pulling out a thick stack of documents. "Mrs. Carver has authorized me to file for temporary guardianship of Willow," she said, meeting my eyes. "She believes neither you nor Mrs. Laurel can provide a stable environment for the child." I was stunned, like I'd been punched. "Guardianship, Odessa has no right." The court gave me custody and Laurel's on supervised visits. Diane didn't flinch. "Mrs. Carver argues circumstances have changed. She cites threats from third parties, specifically those tied to Mr. Grady Corman and your recent actions, like confronting dangerous individuals, as evidence Willow's at risk." I clenched my fists, trying not to shout. They targeted her because of Laurel and Grady. I protected Willow, not endangered her. Diane raised an eyebrow. "The court will decide. A hearing set in 2 weeks. I suggest you prepare counsel." When Diane left, the floor felt like it dropped out. Odessa, always in Laurel's shadow, was now trying to steal Willow. I called Marcus immediately, and he agreed to meet tomorrow. But my mind swirled. Why was Odessa doing this now? Was Laurel behind it? Or was this a bigger scheme? I looked at Willow humming in her room and vowed no one's taking her. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the garage, the single bulb casting light on Diane's documents. Tay showed up, bringing pizza and a worried look. "Boon, what's going on?" Jenny just called, said. Odessa visited her, asking about Willow. I told him about Diane and the guardianship filing. Tay frowned. "Something's off. Odessa was never close to Willow." "Why does she suddenly want her?" I agreed. Something was fishy, and I decided to dig. I asked Jake, my PI friend, to look into Odessa. Meanwhile, I started getting strange calls, anonymous numbers, no one speaking, just heavy breathing before hanging up. Once I got a text from an unknown number. "Give up Matthews. She's better off with her." I screenshot it, sent it to Jake and Marcus, but I knew this wasn't just a scare tactic. Someone was trying to force my hand. I'm not the type to back down. Ooh. Jake called days later, voice tense. "Boon, you won't believe this. Odessa's not just a tough mom, she's tied to a shady real estate firm in Henderson. They buy cheap houses, flip them, and sell at huge profits. But here's the kicker, the firm's linked to the same betting syndicate Grady was in." I nearly dropped the phone. "You're saying Odessa's working with them?" Jake confirmed. "Not directly, but her company gets funds from an investment group involved. And guess what? Grady was a middleman for their cash before he got busted." This revelation was a bomb. Odessa didn't just want Willow, she might be using the guardianship bid to cover a larger scheme, maybe to protect her financial interests. But why target Willow? I thought about the savings account Grady mentioned, the one Laurel thought I hid. Maybe Odessa believed I had money, or worse, wanted to use Willow as leverage to force me or Laurel into something. I felt like I was playing chess with an invisible opponent, and every move could cost me everything. I decided to confront Laurel again. I knew her visits were suspended, but I went to the supermarket where she worked. Laurel was behind the deli counter, slicing meat, looking tired and older. When she saw me, she froze. "Boon, what are you doing here? I got to the point. Your mom's trying to take Willow. You know about this, don't you?" Laurel shook her head, eyes wide. "No, Mom hasn't told me anything." But she hesitated, and I saw the truth. "Laurel, don't lie. If you know something, say it now, or I swear you'll never see Willow again." Laurel crumpled, tears streaming. "Mom, she said she wanted to protect Willow, that you're dragging her into danger." But I didn't know she filed Mom always wants control, even over me. I studied her searching for deceit, but this time I believed her. Laurel continued, voice shaky. Mom's tied to people in Henderson. I don't know details, but Grady worked for them. He said it was quick money, but I didn't want in. I clenched my fists. And you still let him near Willow. Laurel sobbed harder. I was wrong, Boon. I just wanted a new life, but it all fell apart. I left the supermarket with more questions than answers. If Laurel wasn't behind the guardianship, what was Odessa's game? I decided to go to Henderson to face her directly. I left Willow with Jenny, telling her I had garage business. Tay came with me, and Jake provided Odessa's real estate office address. When we arrived, it was a small, unassuming building, but two burly guys stood outside like guards. My gut churned, but I didn't back down. I walked in, finding Odessa behind a desk reviewing papers. She looked up unsurprised. Boon, she said, voice cold. I figured you'd come. I didn't waste time. What do you want with Willow? Don't say it's family love. You've never been close to her. Odessa smirked. You always think you're clever, don't you? This isn't about Willow. It's about you and Laurel ruining everything. She dragged Grady into this mess, and now my business is at risk. I narrowed my eyes. Business? You mean laundering money through real estate? Her face tightened, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. Odessa stood, stepping closer. You have no proof, Boon, but I have money lawyers, and I can make the court believe Willow needs me. Back off or you'll lose everything. I leaned in, voice low. Touch my daughter and you'll regret it. She didn't flinch, just said, you have 24 hours to think. I left the office, heart pounding, but my mind was set. I wouldn't let Odessa win. Back in Charlotte, I met with Marcus and Jake. Jake revealed he'd recorded my talk with Odessa, not admissible in court, but enough to pressure her. Marcus suggested a bold strategy, expose Odessa's ties to the betting syndicate, not just to protect Willow, but to take her down. I agreed, knowing the risk if we failed. Odessa's money and connections could crush me. Meanwhile, Willow sensed the tension. One taco night, she asked Dad, "Does Grandma not like you? I heard Mom say she wants me to live with her." I was stunned but hugged her, saying, "Willow, I won't let anyone take you. I promise." But inside, I was scared. I wasn't just fighting Odessa, I was fighting to keep Willow from deeper hurt. The hearing came faster than I expected. The courtroom was packed with local reporters drawn by rumors of a real estate scandal. Odessa, dressed impeccably, sat with Diane, looking confident. Laurel was there but avoided my gaze. Marcus stood arguing my case. I was Willow's stable father, while Odessa had shady financial motives. He presented evidence of her company not directly tied to betting, but enough to raise doubts. Diane countered, accusing me of endangering Willow and being emotionally unstable. Then an unexpected twist. Laurel stood, asking to speak. Judge Harper, surprised, allowed it. Laurel, voice trembling, said, "Your Honor, I was wrong to betray Boon and Willow, but my mother, she's using Willow to protect her business. I didn't know until recently, but I can't let my daughter be used." The room went silent. Odessa glared at Laurel, but she continued. "Boon's the best father for Willow. I withdraw any custody claims." I was stunned. Laurel, who betrayed me, was now on my side. Judge Harper deliberated and ultimately denied Odessa's guardianship petition, upholding my custody. Odessa left the court, face pale, and I knew she wouldn't stop. But this time I had Laurel not as a wife, but as an unexpected ally. After the hearing, Willow and I went home. She drew a new picture, me, her, and Uncle Tay standing by our house, a bright sun overhead. I hung it on the fridge, feeling a spark of hope. But I knew Odessa was still out there, and her secrets could resurface any time. I'd stay vigilant, always ready, because Willow deserved a safe life, and I'd fight to my last breath to ensure it. What about you? Have you faced an unexpected enemy? A secret that changed everything? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear. Hit like, subscribe, and spread this story. We'll keep bringing real stories, and I hope you'll stay with me. The trial ended, and in that moment, I thought I'd scored a major victory. Laurel stood by me. Odessa was pushed back, and Willow remained safe in my arms. But if I've learned anything these past months, it's that peace is an illusion, and every win comes at a cost. What happened next didn't just bring new threats, It pulled me into a deeper web of deceit where those I trusted most revealed entirely new faces. This story isn't over, and if you want to know how I kept fighting to protect Willow, stick around because the twists ahead will keep you hooked. Post-trial, I tried to restore normalcy for me and Willow. We stuck to our favorite routines: Taco Tuesdays weekend camping with Uncle Tay, and evenings where Willow drew while I worked on bikes in the garage. But I couldn't shake the unease. Odessa, despite her courtroom loss, wasn't one to give up easily. Laurel, though she stood against her mother, remained a question mark. Was she truly remorseful or playing another game? Then an event flipped everything. An anonymous letter arrived at my house, no return address, just one scrawled line. "Willow isn't your daughter." That letter was a bomb in my mind. I stood in the kitchen, hands shaking, rereading the words. Willow, the center of my world, not mine, impossible. I remembered every moment: Laurel's 36-hour labor holding her hand, Willow's birth with those big eyes looking at me. But the letter planted a seed of doubt I couldn't ignore. I hid it in a drawer, telling no one, not even Tay. But I needed answers, and fast. I called Jake, my PI friend, to trace the letter's source. Meanwhile, I decided to get a DNA test, not because I doubted Willow, but to crush this doubt before it consumed me. I took a hair sample from Willow while she slept, feeling like a traitor. I sent it to a private lab requesting a rush. While waiting, I noticed odd signs. One day, picking Willow up from school, her new teacher, Ms. Harper, pulled me aside. "Mr. Matthews, I don't want to alarm you, but a woman came by last week asking about Willow. She said she was her grandmother, but she wasn't on the contact list." My heart raced. What did she look like? Ms. Harper described someone matching Odessa: brown hair in a high bun, wearing a suit, commanding presence. I thanked her, but rage flared. Odessa was trying to get to Willow, defying the court. I called Marcus, asking for a restraining order against Odessa, but I knew she wasn't acting alone. Someone else was involved, and the anonymous letter was part of a bigger plan. Jake called days later with shocking news. Boon, the letter was mailed from a Henderson post office, but the fingerprints don't match Odessa or Laurel. However, one matches. An old friend of yours. I frowned. Who? Jake hesitated. Chris Randall. The name hit like a punch. Chris was my best friend in the Marines, saved my life in an Afghanistan ambush. But after I left the service, we lost touch. Why was Chris involved? Why send a letter about Willow? I tried contacting Chris, but his old number was dead. Jake dug deeper and found Chris now worked for a private security firm in Raleigh, a few hours from Charlotte. The firm, it turned out, had contracts with Odessa's real estate company. Pieces were connecting, but too many gaps remained. I decided to drive to Raleigh to confront Chris, but first the DNA results arrived. I opened the envelope, heart pounding, and read, "Probability of paternity 99.99%. Willow was mine." I exhaled, tears falling, but joy quickly turned to anger. Someone tried to tear me from Willow with a cruel lie, and I'd find them. The Raleigh trip was a gamble. I didn't tell Tay or Jenny, not wanting to drag them into danger. At Chris's office, a sleek glass building, I saw him in a meeting room through a window. He was older, graying, but still had a Marine's confident posture. I walked in unannounced, and when Chris saw me, his face paled. "Boon," he said, standing. "Been a while. I didn't waste time." "The letter, you sent it." Why? Chris tried to stay calm, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "Look, I didn't want to hurt you. I was hired, just doing a job." "Who hired you?" I growled, stepping closer. Chris backed up. "Odessa Carver. She said you were causing trouble for her family, that you didn't deserve Willow. She wanted me to make you doubt, distract you." I clenched my fists, resisting the urge to hit him. "You knew Willow's everything to me, and you still did it." Chris looked down. "I needed the money, Boon. This company, they pay well, but they don't give me choices. If I didn't, they'd find someone else." I stared at the man who was once my brother, feeling anger and betrayal. "You chose your side, Chris. Now face the consequences." I left Raleigh with a new plan. Chris gave me a lead. Odessa wasn't just acting for herself, she was protecting a larger network, and his security firm was part of it. I contacted Jake, asking him to dig into the firm. Meanwhile, I got a frantic call from Jenny. "Boon, Willow told me something weird. She said yesterday at the park with her class, a man was taking pictures from afar." She thought it was Grady. My heart stopped. Grady, though under investigation, clearly wasn't done. Or someone wanted me to think it was him. I raced to the school, met Ms. Harper, and confirmed no one saw Grady, but a park worker recalled a man matching his description. I called the police, but they said there wasn't enough evidence to act. The helplessness made me want to scream, but I had to be smart. I installed security cameras around the house, hired a private guard for Willow at school, and told Jenny not to let her out alone. But the threats didn't stop. One night, working in the garage, a brick crashed through the window with a note, "Pay up or the girl pays." I called Jake, who confirmed the betting syndicate Grady worked for was still after me and Odessa might be the link. I decided to play the final move. With Marcus and Jake's help, I contacted Sarah Mitchell, an investigative reporter at the Charlotte Observer. Sarah agreed to hear my story, and I handed over all evidence: Grady's report, Odessa's real estate firm, Chris's security company, and the betting syndicate ties. Sarah worked fast, and within a week, a bombshell article dropped Henderson real estate scandal links to organized crime. It didn't name Odessa directly, but was enough to spark scrutiny. Her company faced investigation, and Odessa vanished from Henderson, rumored to have left the state. But the final twist came from Laurel. One evening, she showed up at my house unannounced, looking panicked. "Boon, I need to talk," she said, eyes red. I let her in, but kept my distance. "My mom, she's gone." But before she left, she gave me this. She handed me a USB. She said if anything happened to her, I had to give it to you. I plugged it into my laptop, and what appeared chilled me: a hidden camera video of Odessa meeting a man I didn't recognize, discussing handling Matthews and using Willow as leverage. The video ended with Odessa saying, "If Laurel doesn't cooperate, we take the girl." I looked at Laurel, shocked. "When did you know about this?" she cried. "Just now, Mom pressured me to stay quiet, said it was the only way to keep Willow safe." "But I can't, Boon. You're her dad, and I was wrong to betray you." For the first time, I saw Laurel being honest, no masks. I didn't forgive her, but I respected her courage now. I gave the USB to Sarah, and the video became the final nail dismantling Odessa's network. Odessa was arrested in Georgia, facing charges of money laundering and conspiracy to kidnap. Now, 2 years later, Willow's 10, strong and radiant. She still draws Love's Taco Tuesdays, and now plays guitar, thanks to Tay's lessons. Laurel's allowed unsupervised visits, but keeps her distance, rebuilding her life. Odessa awaits trial, and Grady's gone for good. Our home is a safe haven where Willow and I make new memories. But I never forget, victory isn't about revenge, it's about never giving up. Now, as I sit on our new porch watching Willow play on the lawn, laughing with Uncle Tay in the golden sunset, I realize this journey, painful as it was, shaped me into the father and man I needed to be. These 2 years, from discovering Laurel's betrayal to fierce legal battles, threats from Grady, Odessa, and a dark criminal network, I faced challenges I never thought I could survive. But I did not because I'm stronger than anyone else, but because of Willow, the reason I wake up each day, the flame guiding me through darkness. Our life now is simple but full. Willow at 10 is still the girl who loves drawing Taco Tuesdays and now strums guitar thanks to Uncle Tay's lessons. She doesn't ask about her mom much, but I know Laurel holds a place in her heart. Laurel, after turning over the USB that took down her mother, moved to a small town a few hours from Charlotte. She works at a library, lives quietly, and occasionally calls Willow to ask about school or her latest drawings. I don't forgive her. Maybe I never will, but I respect her for choosing Willow even if late. Odessa awaits trial, facing a slew of charges, and I know she's out of our lives for good. Grady, once a nightmare, is gone, rumored to have left the state under a new name, but I don't care. He's no threat anymore. Our home, with its new porch walls of Willow's art and the faint smell of motor oil from the garage, is our fortress. Tay's now a permanent fixture, not just Willow's uncle, but the brother I regained after years apart. Jenny still drops by, bringing laughter and cold lemonade. We've built a new family, not from blood, but from loyalty and love. But if I could tell you one thing, it's this: life will test you sometimes in the cruelest ways. It'll strip your trust, make you doubt yourself, push you to the edge. But you have the strength to rise, to fight, to protect what matters. For me, it's Willow. For you, it might be your kids, your family, or your dreams. Don't give up. Gather evidence, find allies, and fight smart. And when you win, because you will know that victory isn't defeating your enemies, but finding peace in your heart. Willow runs up hugging me, holding a new drawing, me, her, and Uncle Tay under a big oak, a rainbow behind us. "Dad, hang this on the fridge," she asks, eyes shining. I smile, nod, and hug her tight. "Of course, kiddo." As I hang the picture, I look down the road out front, once shadowed by the past. Now it's just a road, no Grady, no Laurel, no Odessa. Just me and Willow and a future we'll draw together. Thanks for hearing my story. If it touched you, share yours in the comments. I read them all and I want to know what made you stronger. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video with those needing inspiration. Check our playlist on overcoming adversity for more journeys like this. This is Boon Matthews from Real Stories, Real Truths, wishing you strength, fight, and light. See you in the next story.